Guess it's recording. You're recording.
Mm.
All right, we're good. We're good.
Okay. I don't see a red dot, but I'll take your word
I,
for it.
I I got one on my side, and then there's a thing that just popped up that said you're recording.
Okay.
So for the listeners out there, we just switched from GoToMeeting to Teams, and this is our first pass at it for the video. So far so good. It looks like we're recording. I could see
Cool.
Brian. He could see me. We could hear each other. Although those that don't watch the video, it ain't going to matter much because they're just going to listen anyway, which is probably best for everybody.
Probably. Yeah. There's not a lot of eye candy here going on.
Especially after these last few weeks.
Oh, ragged.
Seriously. How's it going?
Good. How'd you enjoy that last little heat wave back east here?
It was a little moist.
A little sticky.
Not gonna lie to you. When I went up on Saturday to the AT, I did my normal loop that I used to do. This will give you an idea of how moist it was. I got to the car and I had an extra change of clothes, and I just kind of hung out at the car just to get one because I wanted to dry off a little bit. But the parking lot was packed by the time I got down there, and you have the nifty little skirt thing that you use.
I have a skirt, yeah.
Right. I don't. I just drop trout in the parking lot.
Dry.
Yes, and there was, there's two women,
children,
a group of people. No, there's no kids. There's no kids, but there was a couple women hanging around, and they were taking their time before they started their hike. So I waited for like 10 minutes, which was good because I finally dried off, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going. And changed. But when I got into the car, I turned my phone on, and it didn't allow me to get into it. It didn't.
Emergency temperature.
Well, either the temperature, but then I tried to charge it, and they said there's water in the section.
Oh,
and
really?
I had it, yeah, and I had it in a plastic bag in my handheld, so it was just so damp, and
yeah,
it was when
humid.
it's so much because it was when I got up there, Brian. I was driving, and the drive up to Hamburg, you kind of parallel the ridge. And the whole ridge was in a cloud. It was all in a cloud. But then the sun came up, but yes, it's moist. We just got a thunderstorm down here. It's supposed to rain pretty much all day tomorrow.
Yep.
Most of the day Saturday. It's supposed to be pretty chilly on Saturday too.
Yeah, I was loving. Was it in the 70s maybe today? Low 70s, and that was beautiful.
Yeah.
After we spent few days in the 90s, maybe the first 3 days of the week here, and that was warm. So This was at least cloud. We had rain all day actually up here today, so it just unleashed this morning, and we've been socked in all day. So, but that was that mid 90s. I think the truck read 99 the other day, and it was So,
are you guys headed out tomorrow again?
Yeah, we're going up to New York, up to Crumhorn Lake. Cindy's aunt and uncle, they have a cottage up there, right on this lake.
Cool.
So we're bringing the camper up, but we're probably just gonna park it in front of their house. I think it's a smaller house. I've never been, so yeah. But with the forecast, it's a bummer, just timing wise and stuff. But we were gonna bring a bunch of boats and everything, but we're trying to just bring our paddleboard. We have one of those inflatable ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the area of the garage at my folks' house that it's at, and it's deep. Like it may be untouchable. So it's like we're almost in a gridlock there's been a few times now. It's like Tanner's soccer cleats and then his basketball shoes was like just a scavenger hunt. So now, like, Dad was just saying, he's like, I think I know where the paddleboard is, and it ain't gonna happen. so well, I needed another one anyway. Maybe this is the time to do it. So.
Well, you could probably also rent one up there too, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like a small, like this is just south of Cooperstown
Okay.
with the Hall of Fame and everything,
Yep. Yep.
baseball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So it's a small. I think that's a busier area. This is kind of just like a rural outskirts section. So it'll be a good weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it'd
All
be
in all.
quiet, I'm sure. But I'm sure there's probably like I would have to think, depending on the size of the lake, they might be like a bait and tackle shop or something like that.
Yeah.
Now you might get a piece of styrofoam to use as a paddleboard, but
anything that floats,
right,
you can
like
stand on.
an old styrofoam cooler.
Yeah, take that cooler top off.
Uh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
good.
Philly, you're at your rental there. Is that where
Yeah,
you guys are set up shop?
yeah. I'm the only one here. Elena's with friends, and Robin's with friends. So I had a couple calls this afternoon, and then I took Robin over to Jimmy and Bridget's. They're going. The girls are going out to dinner, so it's gonna. My hope is that it's going to be a quiet evening here, but that's not gonna stop me from
There you
drinking
go.
beer.
Yeah, quiet brews
Oh,
there. Got a
salute. Hazy IPA.
little hazy thing here. What you
That's
got?
funny. I was gonna grab a Sierra Nevada. That would have been interesting, but Robin went to Robin went out with some friends yesterday afternoon for a happy hour with some of the board members from the old gym back in the day here.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and this one of her friends gave me Sterling Pig Brewery is the name of the brewery.
Hmm.
Right down the road here in Media. It's called the Snuffler IPA.
Ooh.
It's pretty tasty, 6.5%. So it's not your light, but um, it's not bad. It's pretty good
Yeah.
actually.
Good local flavor there you got then.
Oh yeah, the fridge is other than this a couple of the Sierra Nevadas that I had left over. There's this. There's two Trogs. There's Perpetual, and Nimble Giant. Which Nimble Giants, it's a 9.0%.
Oh, attaboy.
Might want to be careful with that one.
Tread
And
lightly.
yeah, I got an Ithaca Flower Power. I don't know if you've ever heard of or saw that before. That's a pretty good one.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll have to pick up some of that for the weekend.
Yeah, we went into Wegmans last Saturday to get some groceries and stuff like that. And I mean, they're because now Pennsylvania sells beer in the grocery stores.
Yeah.
So I was just like a little kid in the candy store, just
Oh yeah.
grabbing stuff
And
all over.
Wegmans too, their variety is
They got a
pretty
pretty
good.
good, yeah, they got a
Awesome.
pretty good selection, real good
Yeah.
selection. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's like I told you in the text, get up, run, work, eat good for lunch, and then train goes off the
Cancel it all out.
train goes off the tracks at that point in time.
Well, at least you were on the tracks, though. Like I said, you know, you're on the tracks. You fall off, you get back on.
There's good days and bad days. We'll see. I had a buddy out in Phoenix I was talking to yesterday. He's like, "So, are you ready to come back?" And I'm like, "In some ways, yes, and in some
Yeah.
ways, no."
Yeah.
But you know, but it's been like we were talking, just sharing gratitude yesterday. That's what it's about. I mean, I'm trying to make sure that spending that weekend up with you guys 2 weeks ago was special, and then coming down here and being able to connect with so many people. Because shit, we don't know when it's going to happen again. Are we going to be back next year? Very likely, but you don't know that for sure. It's not guaranteed. So we're
Yep.
just using the time to take advantage of it, and it kind of loops into kind of what we wanted to talk about today, or actually last week. So we apologize for the hiatus, everybody, but between Brian and his family going through their changes and moves and everything, and with me being on the road, it's been kind of hectic. So, but this is summer, and we'll do our best each week to
Yep.
put one out. And fortunately, we're getting one out. And this is one I had written down. And this might go on a couple of tangents because originally last week we were trying to talk about community and friendships, which, that's kind of what we were talking back and forth with the texts about. But you brought up something too yesterday when we were texting about balance and routine. And I know we talked about balance and we always talk about routine, but we'll see how the conversation goes with community and friendships, and go to balance too, because I think it all kind of might play well together, but we'll see how it goes. The community thought that I had, that actually came from Sherpa John, and one of his podcasts. I think it was several months ago. They were talking about community, and obviously it was centered around the ultra running community, but it also divvied up to like friendships and like our community. So for me, I have a community in Arizona of friendships. I have a community with ultra running. We have a community with our job. We have a community with you guys. We have a community with our family. We have a community with friends here. Everybody. Robin has a community with gym friends, and we have a community with soccer friends. So I think community and friendships, they overlap to a degree, but there is also a lot of separation in there too. But I wanted to kind of share some thoughts around community, because right now, I don't know if you've been following the news the last couple of days, but I mean, it seems like a community, us as a culture, as within the United States, we make some headway and we're going up, and things are looking good, and then somebody says something stupid, somebody does something stupid, a tragedy happens, and then our community goes back to that divide that we had, last year.
Falls off the tracks.
It falls off the tracks. It falls off the tracks. So, and I think for me, community friendships are incredibly important. There's some that are strong relationships and strong friendships and strong community that help us become the people that we want to become throughout our lives. And then there's other friendships and other communities that they put a dime on the railroad track and cause us to fall off of it. So, so I want to talk a little bit about community. I mean, the friendship side of it came from when I was up there, and obviously spending time with you and the family, and that spans 30 some years. Being in the neighborhood, when I went running around the neighborhood, and it was just, I don't even know how to describe it, but there's another perfect example. We had a community, a special community, not only being in northeastern Pennsylvania, being in Clarks Summit, being at Abington Heights, all communities, but being involved with the wrestling team. There's a strong community there, and that's not just a strong community with Abington Heights wrestling. It's a wider community, just wrestling in general.
Yeah.
The kids have their community with their sports and with their friendships, and you yourself, Cindy, Tanner, Cora, Taylor, you guys are adventuring into another community, a new community. So I guess maybe talk a little bit about that, and maybe you haven't had the chance to sit back and really reflect on it, because you haven't had a chance to really stop. But as we got you here, what are your thoughts on that, and leaving one community going into another community?
Yeah, it's been. I mean, yeah, we haven't been very consistent with the shows here, but there has been a lot of happening in the backgrounds, I guess, in between our shows. Going back, I don't even know when I left Colorado now. In May.
A while ago.
July 1st right now.
The first time, the second time, or the third time?
Yeah, so I'm cross-eyed still, but yeah, I mean, it's been just for us as my family, it's definitely emotional roller coasters. We've been on the highs, and then the lows of leaving Colorado, and 20 years. I've had 20. Cindy had more than that. She was there since 97. So there's years upon years where friends evolve and morph into family, kind of like us here. That occurred. We were out there for such a long time. That occurred there as well. So we weren't just pulling out of like a beautiful landscape, and the mountains and all that. It was departing and pulling away from a lot of loved ones,
Mm.
really, not just friends. I mean, we physically have family there still, but that whole community, like especially of a small town too, tucked in rural Colorado. I mean, that's a tight bond with a lot of those folks up there. I mean, it's similar to wrestling too. Those who suffer together, I think, form
Yeah.
stronger bonds and know what each other are going through. So I think that applied very, very much so to fair play. So yeah, pulling away from there, and I think I talked to you about it, but I was almost numb on the actual departure just because I had a task at hand. I had two little girls in the back seat, and the objective was to get across the country safely. So looking back on it, I did not really or soak it in, I guess. Like I thought I might have, but now being here, I'm realizing what we just did. So, and not in a bad way, but just realizing, this isn't summer vacation anymore. I'm not out here for a death race for a few
Right.
weeks. This is set in now for me more so than Cindy because she just showed up here a couple weeks
Right.
ago. So she's kind of still in summer vacation mode, like you guys are doing right now.
Right. Right.
So at some point it may stick in a little bit more closer to home with her. Um, but yeah, and it just getting back here, then having that bittersweet leaving, and then rolling into here and just having family. I mean, as close as I've can have. Really, I'm in my old house. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean that's and it's been awesome having that. Um, the girls are doing everything. Little Nana's little sidekicks and going over to Aunt Patty's, playing with cousins at Kevin's and everything. I mean, it just these times like this you can't replace. And it definitely confirmed everything, all the decisions we made. Just that in itself. And Tanner showing up now. He's been cutting grass, learned how to cut grass with Grandpap, and 2 days ago he learned how to drive a standard. He drove the Jeep through Kevin's yard through the field there. So I mean that I just heard that and I wasn't around at all. I was at work, but
Right.
just hearing that, and he's helping him move wood and just learning a lot of stuff. I think the more you can learn from your grandparents, the better off you're going to be, because I think you absorb more, and something happens with that dynamic compared to listening to your parents. Something about, I think, kids subconsciously understand and respect and absorb knowledge from the grandparents more so than their own parents.
Mm.
I have a strong believing, because there's a lot of stuff that I learned from my grandfather that I still can remember crystal clear right now.
Well, there's on podcasts or through books, there's a few folks that I've listened to that they encourage you to sit, if you're on a bus or a plane or subway, whatever the case may be, and you're sitting next to that 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 woman or man that's in their 70s or 80s. And in all honesty, man, I've been able to do this, and I know you have too, where you just sit down and these folks just want to talk. They
Yep.
just want to engage, and you're talking to somebody that's in their late 70s or early 80s. There's a lot of wisdom and there's a lot of life experience that they have now, and it doesn't make a difference what their occupation may or may not have been. They lived they lived over the course of 80 years, and these last 80 years, take a look at some of the shit that's happened. They're going to have stories to tell, and
Yeah.
they're going to probably want to share some of those stories because they may have not have had somebody to just sit down and listen to them. And you think about, and that's, at this point in our stage of life, that's essentially our parents, our kids, our parents are that's their grandparents.
Yep.
Um, and that's an interesting topic. I think that generation, our parents' generations, those in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, if they're fortunate to still be around. Um, there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom, whether they're your
Oh
grandparent or
yeah.
not. But I totally agree with that.
Yep.
Um, and for Tanner, Corey, Taylor to have such close access to your parents right now, but now Cindy's mom is not really far away. So I guarantee you're probably going to be spending more time with her and
Yep.
Cindy's family as well. So you know,
Exactly.
it is bittersweet. It's definitely bittersweet, and the bitter part obviously is not being where you were. But when you were there, you didn't have the access that you're going to have to not only your parents and Cindy's family, but there's a lot of other things. There's a special. I mean, people bust our balls about being from Scranton and Clark Summit and the northeastern PA, but say what you will, man, it's a pretty good community, especially to grow up for
Oh
kids to
yeah.
grow up.
Yep. No, and that's what you just all said right there. Um, that's what it came down to. That's exactly why we're here right now. So
Yeah.
that's happening, and everything's finding a house would be cool. But all in time right now. The market's just nuts. It's silly right now, but it's like you been telling Cindy, it's stressing over it, worrying about it isn't going to change the market right now. It is, the market's going to do what the market's going to do,
Yeah.
and losing sleep over it right now isn't going to change a damn thing. So
Yeah, you know that, she knows that, we all know that, but it's so much easier said than done, right? Because
yeah,
we're human beings. That's what we do. I
yeah,
mean, we and the one thing that, and I may have talked to you about it. I know I talked to Robin about it. The one thing that I think, the one thing, Brian, that I think I beat myself up with the most is, and we might be going off on tangents here. So we started on track. We might be going off track, which is par for the course with these podcasts.
exactly.
Uh,
No
you know,
surprise by now.
after what we've been going through and what we've experienced and what we were fortunate or unfortunate to go through, one thing I wrote down is the ability to suffer together, which I want to circle back to that. But we've learned and grown so much over the years, and we know that, and we say it, we tell it to ourselves, we only have control over what we have control over, and the amount that we have control over is so minimal, you know. Uh, but and we know we shouldn't get upset and worry about and stressed out about those things that we can't control. The housing market, for example, what you're experiencing now, but we still do it. It still happens, right? And for me, that's I think the thing that I beat myself up most about is that I know I shouldn't be letting this kind of stuff bother me, but I do. And having a good woman on my side, a good partner on my side with Rob, and she's like, "Well, you need to give yourself grace. You're not perfect. You're not perfect." So
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think you guys do that pretty well. When you need that little boost, Cindy's there to give it to you, and vice versa. And you know, sometimes you also need to rely on other people's to give it to you when you're both needing the boost.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's all right. I mean, that's all right to do. And I think it's important to acknowledge and be aware that you need a boost,
Yeah,
and not try to just muscle it through like, a lot of people like us will try to do, being stubborn and trying to move our way through all by ourselves. But knowing when to reach out, to whoever would want to listen bend somebody's ear, and that's I think it's good to have a list of folks out there just to be able to reach out and touch base with, and just even just talking it out sometimes, I think, compared to bottling it up too, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, well,
Because
I've
it
seen.
seems 100 times worse in your head.
Well, it always is. It always is.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you for opening up over the years, because I know that's been something that you've been working on. Um, I'm just fortunate enough to be able to help, hopefully be able to help you like you've helped me through the years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Uh, but the whole bottling the things up. I mean, there's so many times where I've shared my vulnerability with you and others, and sometimes in the event of complete strangers, and it's 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 helped cleanse myself and heal myself and work through whatever that thing may have been. But it also gives that human being the courage to open up and share, maybe with us back or somebody else, who kind of pay it forward, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's so much, and very likely when we start sharing whatever challenge we might be dealing with, and you know we grew up in a society, in a community, okay, in a community, we'll say that, where if we shared our if we shared that kind of stuff, if we shared our insecurities and imperfections, that was we were weak, or we would get called the P word, right, from others,
Yeah.
so from our peers, right? So we were taught to push it down. But once I started realizing that I needed to share it, it helped me cleanse and heal. And very likely, and going back to your point, with we make it much, much bigger in our mind. When we share that challenge, sometimes we're talking to the right person at the right time, because they may not be going through the exact same thing, but they're suffering in some way, shape, or form. And now,
Yeah.
like you said before, you might not be suffering at the same time, but at some point in time, there's a relatable story to share that will be like, oh, okay, so it I don't want to say it's not a big deal, because when you're in that moment, it is a big deal. But oh,
Yeah.
so you're giving me hope, you're giving me belief, you're giving me faith that the burden, the rocks that are on my shoulders, they're going to be lifted, and I'm going to be able to make my way through this as long as I just keep going.
Yeah. 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 And finding common ground like that by talking with somebody, finding common ground, and realizing that it's not just you.
No,
There's a loneliness when you're down there, and I think finding that common ground too sometimes is a huge relief, because you will forget about it. That you're not the only one dealing with a crummy situation, and other people have been maybe similar things, and they've learned something, and that's just good knowledge to share. But you're not going to do that if you're not reaching out and just touching base and hanging out with somebody.
yeah,
So it's
we're never alone. I believe that thoroughly. We're never alone, but we create this vision in our mind that, um, we think we are alone, because one, well, nobody's ever had this problem before, nobody's ever gone through this before, which is a bunch of bullshit, because we all have gone through it. There's the other side of it, that we get afraid to share it because of the judgment
hmm
that other party might um, think, right?
yeah.
But in reality, my belief is that when you really open up, and you obviously, well, I'm going to take that back. When you open up and you really share something, most people have compassion. I think more people than we
Oh
think
yeah.
have compassion, because you're going to open up, and you're going to be the one that, or someone says it to you, they open up and they share that, and then either they or you're like, oh shit, so I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. You know, this person's life is just as messy as mine am, or holy crap, my life isn't the only one that's messy. So, I think And hopefully, I mean, this is actually awesome stuff because, the way the world, the way things are, everybody's life is messy right now. Some
Yeah.
some messier than others, and I think if we could just be more compassionate and share, I think that judgment, and
Yeah.
that dividing line may possibly start reducing a little bit, or hopefully we can get rid of it because
Yeah.
I just think I think, and I keep looking down at this piece of paper, and it says suffer together. We're all suffering in some way, shape, or form. And it's perspective on how you define suffering, but and some people are really, 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 really suffering, and then there's the suffering side that I think of. I'm inconvenienced most of the things, unless most of the true suffering that I go through is self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there is good suffering too. It's that all, there's two ways to skin a cat, I guess, but there's, the suffering that can deteriorate and break you down and, just keep you down there too. But if there is some forms of suffering, which I think like in our upbringing, we definitely experienced how to suffer, and that brotherhood's formed through wrestling, and that mentality, the mentality is, um it could go either way, like you were saying, like we got to suck it up and, don't be the P word and all this. So that teaches you to push more than you thought you'd be able to, and that can go two ways. That
Mhm.
can really be beneficial because you're proving to yourself that you're capable of doing more than you're doing. But then also, you're creating that hard shell around you, and your guard's always up, and you're trying to be a man, and that
Right.
whole form of masculinity and everything. So it's a tricky way to be programmed in that upbringing. And not that like our parents weren't doing it, but I think it was more of each other, like that peer pressure of, because everybody wanted to do better. And if your teammate wasn't performing like they would, the whole team wasn't going to do well. So everybody was trying to raise the bar for everybody next to them and next to them. And it's definitely not the healthiest way. But I go back and forth with that because I'm like, well, a lot of that got me to where I am today.
Well,
you know
it's interesting because I now it goes to that balance topic, right? And like you said, you could be given that, what's the word? Pe- People, coaches, parents, peers, whatever the case may be, could be uh, sharing or trying to motivate you, try to inspire you, try to push you, right, to become better. And everybody has their different ways of doing it. Back when we were kids, it was, stand up, be a man, push through it, never quit, don't give up, so on and so forth. Over the years, we've transitioned that to relentless forward progress and left foot, right foot, and keep going.
yeah.
um, and less judgment and more, encouragement, if you will. Um, but going back to what you said, in the culture and the community we grew up in, that stand up, be a man, don't be a punk, don't be the other P word. In And you nailed it, right? Because that could that could be processed in a couple different ways. It could, and I think for us, and I think many people that we've been around, we've been able to use it in a motivating and inspiring way over the
Yeah.
years. We've been able to pull out the negative connotation of some of that and use it as fuel. But it's really, really easy to dwell on the negative side of that, because if you're called the P word, if you're called a sissy or whatever you want to say, over and over and over again, you could start believing it, right?
Yeah.
And it could
Yeah.
create that, can create a shell. But that's that balance thing, right? I tell the girls a lot, listen, everybody's an expert, right? Everybody wants to give advice. Everybody wants to tell you how good they do something because they feel that their way is the best way to do it. But and what we've shared on this podcast over the years and what I share with the girls is like, listen, there's nothing wrong about listening, right, to somebody when they're trying to help, because I believe in most instances people are really trying to help, but you have to find the balance. There's some things you're going to have to let go in one ear and out the other. It's like reading a book. It's like listening to the podcast, right? There could be one or two nuggets you pull out a book or a podcast or a speaker. And it's the same way with being a parent, right? Or being a kid. You mentioned, the advice we would give as a parent to our kids versus the advice a grandparent would give a grandchild. There's a balance to it. What tools are you going to slap into your tool belt and use, and what tools are you going to pull out and maybe put on the bench and maybe potentially use later, and then what other tools are you just going to say this isn't going to work?
Yeah. What are you absorbing or not? And that's where it's interesting, because I think things are at these days. I feel like we're always talking about when we were kids, but if
we sound like two curmudgeon old men back in the day.
But if we were to be in mainly sports, let's talk about, and say, hey, no matter what happens, as long as you try hard enough, you're still getting that trophy at the end. What would have that have done to both of us? Yeah, I always wonder about
point, man.
I always wonder about that, because now at this point, that's kind of where we're at with things. And there were certain times where I think I was helping develop a little mini tournament for the wrestling camp we had. And I was like, no, I'm like, we're gonna give the hardware out, top 3. I'm like, whoever's gonna come out and really put effort in, if that's what these kids need for the motivation, it's gonna happen there. I was like, we'll give certificates of participation and everything like that, but I always wonder, gosh, would that have changed our upbringing with that? And then how do you motivate kids now in a different style? And I kind of have been exposed, like with the cross country kids, how do you push them as far as they can go, and that's where it was explaining to them, like, this is gonna, the pain is gonna be there, and you will be in the pain cave. So I wasn't sugarcoating anything. I was like, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna go out and you're gonna be in this pain cave, but it's not gonna be forever. Notice when you're there, you're gonna be there for a good 15 minutes maybe, but the faster you go, the quicker it's over. So you just have to get the kids, and then the finish line, pain's over, and then you fall down on your face and you're done, that's it. So how do you motivate properly, and this could be with anything. How do you motivate your own kids? How do you motivate a team or just coworkers and everything, to be blunt, to be honest, but not rewarding every single individual?
I think you articulated that pretty spot on, right? First, we'll go back to I had, knowing the way you and I are, if we were taught back then that don't worry, everybody's going to get a trophy, we would not be the people we are right now. There's no way in hell, because so I mean, things play out the way they play out. There's a reason why we're here talking to each other and so on and so forth. You did mention a word, is a word that I focus on with the girls and people that I work with, is effort. Effort.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, and I've shared this with you, I don't really give a shit what what the end performance is. I don't care if you get straight A's or if you get all C's in school. I don't care if you're the best gymnast, you get all 10s, you score 17 goals. I don't care about any of that. That's all outcome. That's all outcome. At the end of the day, do you believe you've put the best effort in your performance today, in your training today? Did you give everything you possibly can give today? Because your level of effort today is going to be different than your level of effort tomorrow than it was the day before. It's always going to be different because you're not going to be the same person every day, day in and out. Your body's going to feel different. You're going to be sore one day. You're going to feel great one day. You know, especially if you're, you have 2 teenage girls. You know what's going on with that. You know,
Yeah.
So I like to focus on effort because at the end of the day, you know, if you believe that you did everything you possibly could do to the best of your ability and you put your best effort out there, whether you finish first or 30th, it doesn't make a freaking difference because in essence, there's a lot you don't have control over.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a sporting event, right? And even if you talk about about school, right? In grades, because you know you could do the best you possibly can, but you don't have control over what that person does. You don't have control over what classes that person is in, because that person could be in a whole different level of classes and they finish in the top 5% of their school, but you finish in the top 10% of your school. So for me, it's less about, you know, what number is on the trophy, whether it's first, whether it's second. If you could sit back in the mirror and look at yourself and said, I put my best effort out there, that's all I could care about. That's all I want, you know? And going back to your point about being candid, if you're not, okay. There's nothing wrong with that because you're going to have your days where you don't want to. But don't sit and bitch and moan to me about I didn't finish this and I didn't get this and I didn't get that. Well, you know what? You didn't work your ass off. And that's what it comes down to, right? Work your ass off. If you want the results, if you want the outcomes, right? The first, the seconds, the best time, whatever the case may be, work your ass off. But keep in mind though, my dad always told me this, there's always somebody out there working harder. There's always somebody out there working harder. And there's so many things that are out of your control. But when it comes down to it, if you could sit back and say, I put my best effort out there, all that other stuff doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% on that. And it's Dan Gable, always envisioned his opponent working harder than him. And that was his motivation to just keep on. So it's I would like to think that if everybody did the participation back then, that we would just say, nah, I'm good, I know where I finished. You can keep that hardware here.
Yeah, I mean, there's that's an interesting hole to go down, right? Because I mean, because I just have a feeling because we'd be programmed different. I mean, you could see it, right? You could see it from our generation to the next generation, and how, again, we're going to center this around sports, but it could be academics too, because the level of inspiration or trying to inspire people to do their best has completely changed, right? Because it's okay, it's okay, everything's okay, don't worry about it, it's going to be okay, versus, dude,
I'll take care of it for you.
Right, exactly.
That's
And it's that programming, right? That programming kind of caught up to us, right? And now we're trying to revert back to maybe not. Listen, yeah, you suck. You're terrible. But that's, I mean, to a degree, that's what maybe.
Yeah.
It has to be said. It has. No. No.
Huh? Well, you have to, okay. Well, just give me a few more minutes here. All right.
Balance.
Speaking of working hard, yeah, there's two girls that earned their screen time.
Hi, girlies. How we doing?
Uncle Mike says hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
So
they're not impressed, but yeah. I mean, times are changing, but I think it's still not just accepting that and still trying to work with whoever you can around you to not just take the easy ways out and just make the easy buck, which is kind of personally driving me nuts right now because I'm not working up to my ability, but I'm still, that's not sitting well with me. So I guess that's why I have time to think about this. But like actually working for your dollar, but people right now are just content with, I can't believe I got paid for this. Like I didn't have to do anything. This is awesome. Like high fives, shots on me.
yeah, no, I mean I get that. There's
But
I get what you're saying there.
It's that programming, I guess, as you come up. How do you how that's all
Well, we could
dictates
circle it back.
future.
We could circle it back to the beginning, right? And it's the community you surround yourself with, and it's the community
Yep.
the communities you get involved with, because that's that could be family, friends, athletics, school, whatever you define as your community. That's where our programming comes from, right? A lot of our
Yep.
programming comes from who we surround ourselves with, and there's definitely good and bad programming, obviously, but that's not for us to judge.
Yep.
We there's certain values and standards and characteristics that we choose to live our lives by, and those same qualities and characteristics and standards we try to communicate and share with those that we are trying to help and trying to inspire. And that now this leads back to the balance, and it's up to them to choose what is it that they're going to use, what is it that they're going to leave behind. And there's going to be communities that we involve ourselves in that we share these things with, and that's going to either attract people or push people away. And there are those communities out there that they want the pat in the back for um, not putting forth their best effort. They want things kind of given to them, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but my belief is that if you want something, you're gonna have to work your ass off for it.
Yep.
You're gonna have to do it, because it's not going to be fulfilling, and it's not going to be sustainable if you don't. This world we live in is hard. It's really, really hard. You're experiencing on levels, I'm experiencing on levels. This shit we go through is hard, and trying to balance it all out is even harder. And trying to continue to move through it and keep pushing forward while trying to keep this sane is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
But that all said, as we continue to move forward, and accepting the fact that we're not going to be perfect every day, and it's going to be freaking messy. Um, that's kind of life, and those folks out there that don't think things are messy and don't think things are ugly, and then you're probably going to get smacked in the face pretty soon.
Exactly. Yeah, if you can accept it, knowing it, and try to go through it with some grace rather than just feeling beat down, shitty perspective, opinions and all that. That's not doing you good, and that's definitely not doing everybody that's surrounding you
Yep.
very
But
much at all.
but that shit happens, dude, and you know it.
Yeah.
I experience it. I get down on me, and that it's again when I have that attitude or mentality, it rubs off on those
Yep.
around you. And that's kind of why we're sharing this with the group here, is that you're going to have those days. You're not going to wake up every day, rainbows and fucking unicorns and shit like that. It just doesn't
is.
happen. You might
Yeah.
get a day like that, but you're gonna
Yeah.
have you're gonna suffer more than you don't suffer in life.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can roll with the punches, take them as they come, and then when those good days do occur, you appreciate them even more so because you just got through hell. So in comparison, then, and nothing great may happen, but it's something negative didn't occur. Therefore, it's a great day. So,
Well,
soak it up.
sometimes when you don't get that ribbon at the end of the day, that's the bad thing that happens. That's detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a blow.
Right. That's
I want my ribbon.
for what?
Yeah.
For what?
Give me my $2.
You want your ribbon for stopping halfway through?
Yeah, exactly. Doing bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, that's good.
that was good stuff. So yeah, we think we tied it together pretty decently.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was great. I'm glad you guys are having a good time down there. It was awesome having you guys up here, and yeah, having you, Cindy, Tanner roll in. All within a couple of days. That was just a good start to our summer. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a good weekend. I mean, I miss you guys. It was kind of it was just I kept saying it's weird. It's just weird being up there in our neighborhood hanging out. Jimmy coming over, Tina and Tammy and the kids coming over, and Paul and people from the development. It was like,
Yeah.
and then and it was like, well, you guys aren't leaving, guys.
Yeah. When you
Guys,
leave, we're not.
right? And I'm like, it's just, it's kind of,
New
it's
chapter.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. We're gonna, I'm just work wise, I got to go to Denver, in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Huh.
oh, well, it would have been, and I got to be out there like Wednesday, Thursday. So I would have been like, well, I'm just going to
Yeah.
rent a car
That's a
and
whole weekend.
pop over to Brian and Cindy's and see the kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no, that's not going to happen.
Not
And then
gonna
we're
do
driving
that.
through, we're probably driving through when we head back, and we would have
Yep.
visited Fairplay,
Drive right through Colorado now.
but now we just have an excuse to visit northeastern Pennsylvania
Yep.
and
A big one.
and just
Lots of
try.
them, actually.
Yep, absolutely, and just try not to go out to dinner on Monday nights.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe that'll be we'll open up something for Mondays. That'll be the only day we're open.
Yeah, right. Or just say screw it. We're just gonna grill on every Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
The shit show. So
Well, enjoy it, man. Enjoy it down there.
thanks, buddy. You too. Good luck. Keep it going forward. I'm happy that Cindy and Tanner and you're complete now with everybody being there.
Yeah.
But reach out if you need anything.
Yep.
We'll see what happens next Thursday where we're at, if we could pull something together.
Okay.
I don't know where we're going to be at that point in time. I'm assuming further west.
Somewhere, farther west than Philly.
So yeah, so have a great Fourth, man. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it.
Happy Fourth to everybody out there, to you guys down there.
Yep. Everybody out there, have a safe Fourth.
Be safe.
Be well.
And I'm gonna get some packing done here and we'll hit the road tomorrow.
Good luck.
Again.
Good luck finding the paddleboard.
Yeah. I'm gonna start digging deep here. Wish me luck.
Bring a beer or two with you on that one.
Yeah. Well, the beer fridge is out there. I'm good to go.
There you go. All right. Peace out. Much love, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Adios.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.